The Insured Zone. The Insured Zone with Bet Insured.
With 3 games left in the English Premier League this season and almost all done, yes, Liverpool already wearing the crown as the champions, and those are going to the relegation already confirmed. Talking about Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich Town. But then, do you know that Arsenal might still lose their second place? Hey, welcome to another interesting episode of the Ensure Zone podcast, brought to you by Bet Ensure, that the biggest and the most reliable sport prediction platform in the world. I am FM Karik, and beside me, I have the usual suspect, Kaka, in the building. Kaka, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful, brother. How are you doing yourself?
Of course, fantastic. Arsenal in second place and Manchester City just 3 points are separating both teams.
Yeah, Arsenal. We were probably ready to banter Arsenal with their 3 peats of second position.
Of course.
Well, as it stands now, like you said, they are 3 points just above Manchester City. And Manchester City seems to have found their groove at the right time. And, looking at the remaining fixtures for Arsenal, you wouldn't rule out the fact that Manchester City might, at the end of everything, despite the horrible season Manchester City, still finishing second. That might probably say a lot about Arsenal.
Of course, that might say a lot about Arsenal. Guys, let's see the outcome of our prediction from last weekend before we go straight to business for this weekend. Alright, a big congratulations to everyone playing our games, who trust us, who believe in us, and who are cashing out big. I say make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also put on the notification button to see more content from us whenever it drops. Now, straight to the first game we will be talking about. You might say it's not that, consequential, but then Southampton already in the relegation will be hosting Manchester City, another game that really can propel Pep Guardiola's side into second place. Kaka, Manchester City will be taking a trip to Southampton, and I tell you sincerely, Erling Braut Haaland is back. Also, will he be an integral part in making sure Manchester City finish above Arsenal this season? Look, judging Arsenal, they are really focusing on the Champions League.
Yeah, you probably on paper, you think this is a walkover game for Manchester City. No disrespect to Southampton.
Definitely.
I actually don't see them actually.
They have really been whooped this season.
They've been abysmal this season, and more or less like having nothing to play for, probably just having a preseason for their championship return. Manchester City, on the other hand, you can say a second place finish and probably them winning the FA Cup. It's probably huge, given the facts of everything that happened throughout the course of the season. Yeah. So coming into this one, Haaland back, and with a boost of Rodri, he's actually back in training. You'd expect Manchester City to get the goals and the points in this one.
Of course, Manchester City is expected to get the goals and the points in this one. Guys, let's check our prediction for this game between Southampton and Manchester City. To the second game, another important one. Now, this is a game to really talk about at the same JC's Park. Of course, Newcastle United will be hosting Chelsea, 2 teams that are really, really very, very solid. I tell you, from the goalkeeping area to the attack, these teams have really, really fantastic players. And I tell you sincerely, it's really, really a competition to finish in the top 4 between Chelsea and Newcastle United.
Yeah, it looks like probably a top 5 final for me as things stands. At this stage of the season, it seems everybody it's beginning to see the importance of actually like finishing top 4, top 5, because everybody seems to be picking up form at the right time as things stands. St. James Park is a ground Chelsea has founded. I think the last time they won at St. James Park was the Tuchel era. I think that was in 2021 season.
That was a long time.
That's been a long time ago, and Newcastle, they have been fantastic.
Very solid.
Especially when they play at St. James's Park. I wouldn't put this on past Newcastle or Chelsea. On the other hand, on their day, they are free scoring.
They have quality that really can punish anything.
Exactly. So yeah, I expect the goals in this one. At the end of the day, I'll be surprised if this ends in a draw.
Oh. It might actually end in a draw, according to Kaka, guys. Let's check out our prediction for this game between the Newcastle United and Chelsea at the St. James's Park. Now to another very, very important match. To some, might not really be important, but then, it is really important. The champions already will be taking on Arsenal, the second place team that really might lose the spot, judging by the coming of Manchester City. Liverpool don't have much to play with, but then the pride and also the confirmation as champions are taking on an Arsenal side that has really been shaky going to the end of the season in the English Premier League. How will they fare in this game? Because a lot of people expect them, at least they look like the second best team in the league, and they should really be following Liverpool up in the league.
Yeah, you might say the UEFA Champions League probably
it's a big distraction.
It's been a big distraction. I think since the time they probably feel like the Champions League might be visible, and the gap that Liverpool gave them at some point, was getting to 10 and so points. And at that point, they probably felt like that was probably the end and just focus on the UEFA Champions League. And as it stands like this, there might not be much to play for. At the same time,
that's from the Liverpool's perspective.
Exactly. But you still expect Liverpool to turn up in this one. I mean, they're playing at Anfield, and they probably want to give their. You don't want to win the league today and probably like come back the next week and you are whooped in your ground. So expect this one to probably be tough, and at the same time, but I don't see us actually winning this one. They've been. I think since the last time they won in the league, they've lost to Bournemouth, they've drawn to Everton. I mean, you look at this.
Very inconsistent.
It's been very over the past few weeks. So I don't see them taking the 3 points of Liverpool.
Of course, Arsenal doesn't look it. According to Kaka, guys, at the Anfield, Liverpool will be taking on Arsenal. Let's see a prediction for this game. It's still the Ensure Zone podcast brought to you by Bet Ensured, and we are checking out the games, our topics from the English Premier League. Now, the next game is another game, of course, a side that hasn't really had it rosy in the Premier League, but then in Europe, they look like they are really pushing for it. Manchester United at Old Trafford will be hosting West Ham United. West Ham, Graham Potter already done the job keeping the side in the league this season already. Going forward to next season, I know he'll be trying to make the side more solid, but then in this game against Manchester United, that really hasn't, Manchester United has been a roller coaster team of all kind of emotion and reaction. Talking about the result, they have been mixed, you can't just mention it. In this game, what should we be looking at between the both sides?
The funny start is Manchester United still remain the only team, left unbeaten in Europe this season.
That's
Manchester
really,
United
really incredible.
and Manchester United sits 14th.
14th in the EPL.
In the Premier League. That's I don't know if it's probably the caliber of teams in the Europa League this season. But I mean, not to take anything away from Manchester United. Joining in the Europa League, they've been fantastic. I actually thought Bilbao would actually pose a lot of threat to them, but then look, you just see how
it was an easy walk on the park.
I mean, look at that. So coming to this one, I'll probably refer this match to the battle of the mids when it comes to the Premier League.
It is actually the battle of the mids.
Exactly. You would expect Manchester United to focus more on the final of the Europa League. The Amorim wouldn't want to risk a lot of star players. Last week, he actually rested a lot of them.
Of course, sir.
So coming into this one, you expected the same thing. But even at that, you still expect Manchester United to get the job done.
Of course, sir. We expect Manchester United to get the job done. Guys, let's check our prediction for this game between Manchester United and West Ham United. And then to the next one, Tottenham Hotspurs will be hosting Crystal Palace. Another battle of the mids, like Kaka said.
I wouldn't call that battle of the mids, actually. I think Crystal Palace have been fantastic this season.
But they are below 10th. They are below 10th position.
I mean, you all respect to Crystal Palace. I mean, you wouldn't expect Crystal Palace at the start of the season to probably be in the top 4. You might put them probably in the top 10. Very least. I mean, Tottenham. I mean, come on, you don't call that battle.
Of course, I'll be corrected by Kaka. But then this game, let's check our prediction for this game between Tottenham and Crystal Palace. Now, guys, to the rest of the topics from the English Premier League, let's check out how we expect them to pan out at the end of the day. Now, guys, to our bonus picks, of course, from the Spanish La Liga and the Italian Serie A. A lot going down in those two leagues. Let's see the games we have selected for you. And now, straight without wasting time, to our 20-odd weekend banker, specially created by our expert on 1xBet. Let's check it out. And guys, before we say our buys on the show this weekend, of course, I certainly will put Kaka on the spot once again. The 2024-2025 EPL season will almost end, but then interesting signings are coming in the league. Kaka, who would you say are your top 3 best signing so far this 2024-2025 EPL season?
My top 3, number 3 would go to Bournemouth defender, Hodgson.
The Hodgson.
Yeah.
Interesting young lad.
Exactly. I have been impressed. And a lot of big teams, so-called big teams, have been circling around for his signature. We'll see how that. But I mean, it's been fantastic this season. I appreciate it.
Of course, top quality.
Yeah. Secondly, would have to be Mikel Merino. You look at what our Arsenal have so far this season, especially in the striking department, when
Kai Havertz
got injured and deputized for them. He was fantastic. I mean, if he probably got a little bit of a training, he might probably be converted to a forward. And the top for me would be Nottingham Forest defender Nikola Milenkovic.
They
They don't have the best the distance. What do I call it? They don't have the best defense in the league for nothing. But with his partnership with Murillo, I mean, he was
incredible.
I mean, with just 12 million, I mean, we will see 80 million, 90 million, 70 million signings, defender signings, and I mean, he came and they've been solid. They've galvanized. I think Marseille's, on the other hand, has the highest clean sheet this season in the league. So yeah, he's right there. He's up there. I actually wouldn't be surprised if teams. Yeah, Milankovic, if teams come around and be like, yeah, probably.
I'm not taking him away from Nottingham Forest.
From Nottingham Forest. He actually, I think he has the highest headed goals this season amidst the defender. And, his stats speaks for themselves. I think bar Virgil van Dijk and probably Konate, I think you wouldn't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 amidst centre backs this season without mentioning him.
I think I will be having a different opinion for my top 3 because it's some fantastic players have really done it well this season. In number three, I think I'll be putting Mikel Merino. Actually, like you said, he has been fantastic in midfielder actually, but he has played in that striker's position and he has scored 5 goals in the Premier League.
I mean, some strikers can't boast of that.
Can't even boast of that, and that is very, very fantastic. But then in number two, I will be putting Liam Delap. Liam Delap for Ipswich Town. Fantastic guy for the top player for me. I think.
Why do I feel I wouldn't agree with this?
Well, you might not. But then I think I'll be giving it to Omar Mamouche. Omar Mamouche came at a time when Manchester City were struggling. He was one of one of the players that actually revitalized this side.
Would you put the 6 months player? I mean, no disrespect to Mamouche, he has 6 goals in the space of that 6 months. And I mean, would you rate him ahead? Even let me use your point against you, Liam Delap. If you had put Liam Delap on first, I wouldn't have an issue. But Omar Mamouche coming in January. It's Manchester City at the end of the day. Yeah, he came in and deputized. He did well for Manchester City. Yeah, kudos to them. But yeah, I mean, he's just been here for 6 months.
Just been here for 6 months, and that's why he's in my first position, because I've come in with just 6 months and you have that impact. For a team that is struggling, yes, we might say they have quality, but then the quality... You
say he has 6 goals. Do you remember he had an hat-trick against Newcastle United?
Against Newcastle United, one of the factors,
and that's just 3
of the games. And that's 3 of the 6. One of the games against a Newcastle side, one of the best teams in the league.
Even I think Rashford had a bigger impact in 6 months than Omar Mamouche.
Of course. You think so?
Yeah, I do.
You think so?
You can't argue against that.
Of course, guys, this is where we're drawing the curtain on the podcast for this weekend. I hope we have been able to convince you and not to confuse you that it's always sweet and interesting to be right here on the Ensure Zone podcast with us. Please do like, share, subscribe, and also put on the notification button to get interesting content from us whenever it drops. Don't also forget to sign up on www.betensured.com and get interesting predictions across all sports. I am FM Karika, and I want to say big thank you to Kaka.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Of course, together we'll be coming back next weekend. Remember, on the Ensure Zone podcast, we don't just predict the future, we ensure it. Bye for now.